थैंक यू सो मच सर। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगी वाई के जैन सर से कि वो हमारे बीच मंच पे पधारें। वाई के जैन सर। मैं सोनिया मैम से निवेदन करना चाहूँगी कि वो हमारे बीच मंच पे पधारें और नो ब्रोकर के सीटीओ एंड फाउंडर मिस्टर अखिल गुप्ता जी सर का स्वागत करें आप सभी की अच्छी सी क्लैपिंग के साथ। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगी अनुज गौड़ सर से। अनुज गौड़ सर, मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि आप हमारे बीच मंच पर उपस्थित मिस्टर ऋषभ कुमार सावंतसुखा सर का स्वागत करें, जो कि फाउंडर हैं विज स्ट्रीट कंसल्टिंग ग्रुप के। एक बार अच्छी सी क्लैपिंग आप सबकी तरफ से होनी चाहिए। थैंक यू सो मच। और अब आगे बढ़ते हैं, एक बार थोड़ी सी एनर्जी वाली क्लैपिंग होनी चाहिए। थैंक यू सो मच। नाउ आई रिक्वेस्ट टू मिस्टर मनु शुक्ला सर, प्लीज मॉडरेट दिस सेशन। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। आई होप आप सभी लोग मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं। अगर आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं तो राइट एट द लास्ट रो एक बार जोर से ताली बजा दीजिए ताकि मुझे पता होगा। Alright, and that's the pace that we should keep during the entire session. Thank you very much. As I said, I'm going to be sharing some facts with all of you for the fintech sector. मैंने आपको बताया, India has recently overtaken China as Asia's top financial technology market. Now you will be happy to know that India's fintech sector is going to be reaching $1 trillion in assets very, very soon. By 2030, we are going to be having $1 trillion in assets and $200 billion in revenue. There's an amount of 672.5 crore rupees that has been approved for the establishment of Rajiv Gandhi Fintech Digital Institute in Jodhpur. The institute will be constructed within an area of 11,55,500 square feet. And this is going to be having state-of-the-art IT facilities for teaching, research, and development. I think that definitely calls for a big round of applause, everyone, for Rajiv Gandhi Fintech Digital Institute in Jodhpur. Now, just to move ahead with the panel discussion, my first question is to you, sir, Mr. Arvind Mayaram. Sir, how do you feel fintech industry is actually affecting the entire world today, and it is affecting people everywhere, including Rajasthan? How do you feel the government of Rajasthan should be playing an important role in promoting fintech industry? What's your thought on that, sir?
Thank you very much. It's working now. Thank you for inviting me to this very wonderful gathering today. I think this is the future that we are seeing, and that's the question you have, because Fintech is now touching the lives of everyone in some way or the other. The question is it touching the lives of the people to the extent that it should? And are we really reaching out to everyone who requires the services of Fintech? What it has done, Fintech has done, is made it easier for people to access finance. And finance across the board, whether it is equity, it could be through crowdfunding, it could be through financial services companies who are providing these kind of loans to people, even loans through crowdfunding. I mean, all this has become very possible for the people to be able to access finance and for different kind of activities. And because the tools have become very sophisticated for appraisal, therefore the time taken to disburse loan from the time that an application is made also has become much shorter. So this is a good aspect of it. I think it's a very good part. And this is going to improve the quality of life of the people. However, it is also true that we have not reached the potential, in fact, hardly scratched the surface as far as financial fintech services are concerned. So what is it that makes the fintech ecosystem vibrant? What makes and why Rajasthan? The question is, if we are looking also at India, we are competing with the other places which have already got a first mover advantage like Bangalore or Hyderabad or Pune or Noida. They have, even Calcutta to an extent, they have got a first mover advantage, and they are finding, for us to be able to compete with them as a state or as a location requires a little bit of thinking. What really the ecosystem requires, and what can state government do to create that ecosystem? So obviously, if we look at the ecosystem, what are the elements of that? Talent is the first one. So can we attract talent? Do we have talent here? Can we attract talent? Because talent is not something that can be produced in overnight. And talent is across the board. We have got this new institute coming up in Jodhpur. But can we attract the kind of talent which is required to be the teachers there who will then be able to mentor people to become, the next tomorrow's fintech entrepreneurs or get into new areas of fintech? So one is talent, and the state government certainly can, as has just been mentioned. There are several initiatives that Rajasthan has taken to create a talent pool in the state to be able to train our own people into this. But I think we need to do much more also to attract people from other places so that there is a much more vibrant ecosystem which comes up very quickly. And towards that, I think the state government is already working to make that ecosystem. The second is capital. Is money available? I think a lot of lot of financial institutions, including, I believe, AU Small Bank and other commercial institutions, organizations, are now providing a lot of money to the startups. But I think what we need much more is specific angel funding, venture capital funds, etc. Many, many more to come into this space so that you have the capital flow becomes easier. And the state government will have to start looking at, although unfortunately there's not very much state government can do in terms of policy or regulation, because these are centrally regulated. Either Reserve Bank of India regulates or Government of India's laws regulate this sector. But still, what can the state government do to attract more of the organizations like angel funding organizations or angel or venture capital funds, etc., to start looking at the state and providing the facilities, something that we need to work a little more on. One of the other things that I think we'll need to look at is demand. Because we have seen wherever you are fintech, so Silicon Valley, for instance, has spawned huge number of fintech companies because of the demand that they generate there. So do we have enough demand? And how do we create demand? It's very interesting. I was seeing a figure today in this morning itself, that fintech has been able to reach only to 39% of the population in the rural areas in India. And 70% of Indians live in rural areas. So we can see that majority of Indians are untouched by fintech services yet, and that is where the pent-up demand is. So can we then begin to look at creating or incentivizing fintech to begin to look at that unserviced or unserved or underserved segment of population, so that that demand then pushes new innovations or disruptions in the existing manner in which finance flows. And finally, it is policy and regulation, and that is where the government of Rajasthan must concentrate. I must say this, that regulations or policies are also of two kinds. One is the regulation which directly impinges upon financial services, where Reserve Bank of India's regulations and SEBI regulations, they come into play, and that they determine in what manner the sector will be regulated. But for a fintech company, there are other regulations which are not directly related to fintech or finance, but they have a bearing. And I must say that Rajasthan government took a very early step in this in 2019 itself, when they announced the MSME Facilitation Act and said that notwithstanding anything in any state law, MSME unit, which includes Fintech, which includes startups, tech startups and others, do not require any prior approval or permission from the government of Rajasthan for a period of 3 years. So you can start your business without having to go to any government department, without any inspector coming and asking you questions, without you are having any interface with any state government department for 3 years. I think this is a revolutionary change which has happened. Government of India keeps talking of ease of doing business, where they keep saying that approval is given instead of 30 days in 15 days. And here the state government says for 3 years you don't require any approval at all. You don't have to go. So concentrate your energies on your business. Concentrate on your, and one other important thing is that from your homes, from your garages, in urban areas, you can start business without having to convert your premises into commercial premises, which means you don't have to get commercial electricity charges, you don't have to pay, you don't have to make conversion of residential into commercial. Zoning issues don't come as long as you do not have more than 10 employees. Now, most fintech companies or innovators, to begin with, will not have more than that number of persons in one location. And this is the greatest ease that you can have in starting any business, where you can do it from home and you don't have to worry that tomorrow you'll be slapped with a penalty for using electricity for commercial activities and so on. State government has been the first one to do that. Many other states governments have tried to emulate it. The Honorable Chief Minister even wrote to the Prime Minister saying for MSMEs, similar dispensation should be under central acts. Unfortunately, it has not happened. But that, I think, is one great innovation in policy and regulation that the state government has done. And therefore, compliance burden, which is a very big burden on any startup, has completely been eradicated. And for 3 years, they can do what they wish to do. The only last point which I like to make here is, which is in regulation, also in financial services, because I see a lot of senior officers, officials from financial companies here. We do not have any tolerance for failure. In technology-driven innovations, there is going to be a failure. And we must accept that failure level could be as high as 20 to 25% of people, or 30% of those who start something may not succeed, because once they test it out, the market accepts it or doesn't accept it. They may be ahead of their time. There may be many other issues. It is not because of lack of their effort or their enterprise, but it is on account of other extraneous factors. And we need to take that into account. In United States, you can declare yourself bankrupt 5 times and still go with a good new idea to a financial institution and they will still back you. In India, you are bankrupt once, nobody will touch you with a 20-foot pole. And this is where I think the mindset as well as the regulation on this count needs to change drastically, so that new innovations and new activities keep added to the fintech here. Going forward, I certainly believe that I am seeing in India a tremendous demand explosion, because till now, as I mentioned, we are really only scratching the surface as far as demand is concerned. And we are, therefore, our horizon of innovation is also circumscribed by the fact that you have that limited number of people you are catering to. Now, this is the 300 million people or so in India who are being served uh, by the financial technology services or even by the consumer industry for that matter. So I believe if we are able to move out of it, for instance, I was told that AU Small Bank is now working with a lot of SHGs. So farmers, producers organization, SHGs and others, but also on like Amazon, somebody is here from the Amazon, you're from the Amazon, yes. Amazon is now trying to onboard a lot of MSMEs and small artisans, etc., on their electronic platforms to provide them larger markets. We need to push this, and I see the future lying there. And if we are able to push in that direction, I'm very sure that there'll be, what we are seeing today is just not even the margins that we are looking at. It's going to grow exponentially and become very large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Extremely insightful. And I'm pretty sure that answer needs a big round of applause from everyone. Thank you very much, sir. And it's pretty clear that Rajasthan is leaps and bounds taking steps to promote fintech as a sector. On that note, I'm going to be going to someone who has become a name in the fintech sector in the very recent times. Everyone has been looking at you, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal. When you came up with the thought of AU Small Finance Bank and when you initiated this group, I'm sure you had on your mind how tech is going to be playing an extremely important role and how fintech is going to be changing how banking operates. So my question to you is, one, what was your vision and what did you perceive? How are you going to be taking technologies as a core pillar for you? And what's your thought or suggestion to the bigger banks of the country on how they should be perceiving fintech and what's the future to it?
Thanks, Manu. Thanks, Manu. Namaskar. And thanks for this opportunity. So, Manu, when we started the bank in 2017, we were a zero tech kind of company, because we were just lending as NBFC. But once we got the license in 2015 end, and we had an 18-month period to start the bank, and when I started meeting people to build the tech, because, for me tech was zero. I'm a chartered accountant, right? So I don't know anything about tech. But I think the kind of innovation, the kind of product, the kind of approach the whole of the world gave to us, that right from your CBS, because if you go back 20 years back, no branch was interrelated, right? If you have a Malvinagar branch and you had a branch in C-Scheme, they were not interrelated, right? And Infosys came in 2000, somewhere in 97, 98, and they started giving you CBS. And everything got interlinked. And then see how the growth happened, right? You see how ATM has helped us to become a banking so easy. So I think when we started, 2007 is a very late time when we started the bank. So there were a lot of technology which is coming up. And for me, fintech is a very large and deep word. Fintech, generally people think is about the lending, it's about the payment. But when I met all those people, I figured out that there are so many things at front end, back end, in the middle level, right? And we actually got into the oracles and the essentials of the world. And those guys was just brilliant because, right from CBS, HR, ATMs, so many things, I can't even explain to you because I think we are running around 500 kind of application in the bank, right? Which is customer facing, which is internal facing, which is governance facing, tax compliance, So for me, banking is now, we also do banking. Actually, we are running a tech company, I think the JP Morgan CEO famously told that, the banking is not now normal kind of deposits and only lending, right? It is about how you build your tech platform where you can build whole seamless experience, whole convenience, whole security sense, the availability. So I think I would say that the fintech, in a larger word, has just completely transformed the whole banking in the last 20 years, and it will continue to do that, right? Because now the evolution of what happened in the last 10 years in the country, that, the payment systems, which was such a pain,
to you. Mr. Akhil Gupta, founder and CTO, NoBroker, by the way, for everyone. Akhil, a quick question to you. And we keep on talking about big things happening and big changes and transformations that happen in different sectors. With your experience, what do you think is going to be the next big thing that is going to be happening in finance? And I'm pretty sure there's going to be tech onto it, so it automatically becomes, what's the next big thing that you feel is going to be happening in the fintech sector?
Thank you. As is it better? Yeah. So actually, as everybody rightly pointed out, technology plays a extremely critical role in what we have been able to achieve and what we set to achieve in next 10, 20 years to come. Talking specifically about fintech, with technology, the way banks have changed and adapted the technology, the way Mr. Sanjay was talking about AO Finance Bank, building on the grassroots of technology, the way big banks are coming with APIs, the way they are allowing companies to integrate with them. I feel the verticalization of the fintech is the next thing which has started happening. So when I say verticalization, we run a company, NoBroker, where we connect owners, tenants, buyers, sellers without brokers. So everything, you can find a house, you can find a shop, land on the platform without any intermediary. So now when we have all the transactions happening onto our platform, there's a extremely rich data which is being generated, which typically not even there with the government, because there is no technology adoption which has happened. Leveraging that particular data to build solutions like one of the innovation what we have done is allowing the rent payments onto the platform. You can use your credit card, you can use the UPI, and you can make the rent payment transfer to your owner. Typically, the way you were doing is either you were paying cash, you were giving a check, or you were doing an NEFT transfer which was being settled after some time. Now you come to the NoBroker, you just use your card or UPI and your owner gets the immediate payment settled to the bank account. Similarly, when you are looking for a house, what is your eligibility onto the loan? Because that is a little technical part, like it's not easy. I aspire to buy a home of 1 crore rupees, but am I eligible to get a loan of 80 lakh rupees? Because 20% is a down payment which I need to give. With all the data, all the transactions happening online, vertical solutions like, okay, these are the houses which are available, which is within your limit. You can get a loan in a click, and that is what we do. Like there are pre-approved loans which are available. You can just book your houses online with the builder. Loans can be remitted directly to the builder, or it can come to your account. Similarly, when you are renting houses, you need deposit to be paid, which can be 3 months to 10 months depending on the city where you live. You need loans for that particular thing. So as per me, this is the real estate where we work, but as per me, banks will get technology, they will become enablers. The solutions will be extremely vertical to the industry. Like real estate will have different adoption of these banking platform. Similarly, food will have a different solution. So all those vertical solutions, they have started coming up, and in next 10 years to come, maybe 2 minutes loan, at least home loan, that is something which will be reality in the coming future.
Right, thank you. Why don't you keep the mic with you? I actually, as the next round, I actually wanted to do a quick fireside question with everyone, wherein we can just quickly share some 1 to 2 minute insights with everyone. Why don't we start with you only, Akhil? So, as per your experience, what do you think are going to be these major challenges? Oh sure. Okay. So, what do you think are the major challenges, if in case we have to look at fintech as a sector? What are these top 3 or top 2 challenges or roadblocks that you feel are faced by startups, and how do you feel they should overcome them?
I think challenges, but it's primarily, as the panel was talking, trust. As a fintech platform, you need to build the trust with your customer. Or with lot of new age people started using technology. And new age, when I say new age, it is not only the young generation. There are a lot of elder people who have also started using technology. The frauds which are being increased, the way people can be conned and cheated online, that poses a risk. Like people do cyber frauds, people do they will trick you by calling you. Somebody will send you a message saying that your e-KYC of the bank is not valid. You please go ahead and submit details on this particular thing. So it will happen with both fintech companies educating the customer, but at the same time, each and every customer needs to be responsible when they are using technology. They need to understand that OTPs, PINs, their private details are very, very secret to them, and they should not be revealing until they have the trust on the platform which they are trying to use. So I think these are the two things which we should take care of.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Nakul, moving to you. So since we have a lot of audience who's going to be expecting an answer to this, what do you feel is the role that fintechs are playing right now in creating a strong ecosystem for startups? Now, Rajasthan has one of India's biggest startup ecosystems, and I can share this with you, with over 2,500 startups who are there on iStart as a program. What do you feel is an ideal role that fintech should play for creating a strong ecosystem for startups? And how do you feel is fintech integrated in enabling these businesses across different sectors and industries?
Yeah, I think it's a very relevant point, Manu. So all the people here who are potential startup, people here, I can tell you that, one clear roadmap for payment companies today is to help startups prosper. The first goal of the startups is to look at ease of payment. At that point of time, they do require a lot of enablements, some initial comforts, waivers. I think that is something that we work very, very closely with startups on. We help in educating them as to what are the ways they can get funding, they can move ahead. We help startups to use our platform because we have a large base of merchants. We have almost about 2.5 crore merchants on our base. And of course, needless to say, we have 35 crore wallet customers. So we, our endeavor is to help our startup colleagues use our platform for their benefit. And of course, we'll be very happy to work with governments like Rajasthan government to create an incubation center where we can create knowledge. We can help these people prosper and over a period of time be a part of the entire ecosystem to grow. So we're just not a payment company. We're really a company which wants to work with startups for their growth and enable payments easily. And when I say payments, today payments is both online and offline. So while on online, you have all modes to pay through your online web browser or desktop. On the offline, whether it is EDC, QR, Soundbox, that's the other thing that we enable. And also we offer a range of instruments like postpaid and EMI, which can ease the payments for many of the startups. So that's a commitment from our side that we really want to work with startups to help them grow and give them ease of payments from our side.
Sure. I should actually make a recommendation to you now that you're in Jaipur. You must visit the Techno Hub, which is the government's incubation and acceleration center. You will see the very high quality services and platforms and startups who are out there who are leveraging those platforms, and how Rajasthan government is progressively taking ahead the idea of entrepreneurship. I'm pretty sure that you're going to be probably much more excited to be a partner to the government of Rajasthan.
Very happy to do that. Very happy to do that. Thanks for your input, sir.
I'll just quickly move to you, Rishabh. Just a quick question to you. We are looking at this fintech sector affecting startups, affecting businesses, affecting governments, but it also affects common men, right? So being a country of 130 crore people, fintech is affecting a lot of people. Although Arvind sir originally gave an insight that in the rural areas we have limited outreach. How is that outreach going to be expanding? How do you feel there's going to be a strong impact of fintech as a sector on people at large and people at the last mile?
I think India we have a lot of advantage. हमारे कंट्री में 155 मिलियन हेक्टेयर में खेती होती है और करीबन 26 से 30 मिलियन हेक्टेयर जो कि खेती करने योग्य है, बट अभी तक उस पर खेती नहीं हो रही है. नाउ द चैलेंज वी हैव एंड नॉट वी, इवन इन अफ्रीका द सेम चैलेंज ऑफ द स्मॉल होल्डर, छोटे छोटे किसान हैं जिनके पास में फाइनेंस की कैपेसिटी नहीं है, जिनके पास टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है. बट इफ वी follow the model using the technology in the finance sector, because in agriculture, agripreneur is an entrepreneur, because he wait for 4 months to 6 months for the crop to come, and during that 6-month period he has to take money from some system, and that system keep a track on his borrowing capacity based on the land holding as well as based on his own purchasing power and spending power. Now, as a fintech entrepreneur, you can impact the last mile, you can impact the person who is right now kind of an unsung hero. We all have seen 2 साल के pandemic में the people who have contributed by growing food. That is why India never face a problem, and India will never ever face a problem, because we can grow food with 38 agroclimatic zones. Now we need to use the technology to make it better for the farmer or for the consumer to connect together, so that this entire agri-food value chain, the entire agri-food processing, I call it farm to factory, factory to fork. Actually, सब लोग use करते हैं farm to fork, but farm to fork is not possible unless until you have a factory to process the product in a consumer palatable format, ready to eat, ready to consume, ready to drink, ready to serve. So this entire game will need one thing common. At the farm level you need finance, at the factory level MSME need finance, and at the consumer level also sometime the consumer need finance to support buy now pay later or whatever, there are many modes. So the entire ecosystem you have to understand, and then design a solution with the government. Lot of government schemes are available, but how you can use the APIs, how you can use the ecosystem to make it possible for the farmer to manage their entire spend in money, income as well as expenditure in a seamless manner. I think that will happen. It is already happening in multiple manners. Government is doing direct benefit transfer, then there are Kisan cards, there are insurances, then there are expenditure card. Once you make use of a plastic card or whether digital card, you are actually getting into a system or an ecosystem managed by multiple players, multiple partners who are licensed, who are organized. So as an entrepreneur, I would suggest that, go to rural areas, go to the areas where people live in masses. There are 650,000 villages in the country, and every village has got a village level entrepreneur. Now try to meet within your area. If you want to become a successful fintech entrepreneur, please go and visit 10 villages nearby and just go and see the problem. I will quote an example. जयपुर का ही एग्जाम्पल आपको देता हूँ. वन ऑफ माई फ्रेंड हु इज़ ए कंपनी सेक्रेटरी, ही केम टू मी ड्यूरिंग द पेंडेमिक कि भैया पेंडेमिक में ऑफिस बंद हो गया है एंड आई एम इन माई विलेज में सब्जियों के भाव गिर गए, दूध के भाव गिर गए बिकॉज डिमांड कम हो गई ऑल ऑफ ए सडन. नाउ व्हाट शुड आई डू? I told him that why don't you sell vegetable from your village which is 30 kilometer away from Jaipur to a community in Jaipur. बनी पार्क में एक सोसाइटी को आप अपनी सब्जियां बेच सकते हो डायरेक्ट फ्रॉम द फार्म. He said कि भैया कंपनी सेक्रेटरी करके आप मुझसे सब्जी बिकवाओगे. I said कि what is the problem in this? You are helping your village, you are helping yourself, and you are doing a very decent job to give the farm fresh vegetable to the customer जिसको चाहिए. And what is the price difference? He told me that the price in my village is 8 rupees a kg, which is a wholesale price of Mohana Mandi, and the price which customer is ready to pay is 30 rupees, and distance is 30 minutes. Today he created a startup with a complete branding. ये वो सब्जियों को wash करता है और उसने एक payment wallet भी वो open करना चाहता है. So I think there are a lot of people who are providing this wallet service. A customer can subscribe the farm. This is called community supported agriculture. If you do community supported agriculture, the advance money will go to the farmer group or the villager or a farmer producer organization by collected from the consumer, going to an FPO, and FPO delivering vegetable, delivering happiness to the doorstep. I think this is going to be the future of India, because India and Bharat has to join hands and technology will help in that. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. And when you say that there are these schemes and programs that are currently running and are available and the government is progressively working towards it, do you also feel एक challenge ये भी हो सकता है कि लोगों को इनके बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा पता नहीं है Or how should we ensure that people are going to be able to know more about this? And as you said, India and Bharat, how should we ensure that Bharat knows more about this than India?
I think your question is very valid because many times we criticize the government effort because we don't know about the scheme and we don't know how to get them. So I think the communication will play a bigger role. Here I want to give 7 sutras of community commerce. The first thing is community. Whenever any scheme comes, the target audience, the target beneficiary of that scheme need to be communicated. Content need to be created in a local language. जो भाषा लोग समझते हैं उस भाषा में कंटेंट होना चाहिए. उसके बाद तीसरा आता है क्रिएटिविटी. We can creatively create some programs like now there are a lot of VFX companies, video companies, they can create short videos. हम सब लोग YouTube पे देखते हैं. अगर आज मुझे घर में किचन में कोई रेसिपी बनानी है, मैं YouTube पे रेसिपी देखता हूँ, 2 मिनट में I can make the recipe. Same way, these schemes can be explained in a much better manner in a shorter period of time, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute videos, and they need to be mass populated. I think a lot of work is happening and I'm very happy that Rajasthan, my state where I was born, is doing a great work. और कला साहब बैठे हैं सर, मैं भी बीकानेर से हूँ और मैं बहुत प्राउड फील करता हूँ कि हम बीकानेर के लोगों को आपने वापस इस राजस्थान की भूमि में आने का मौका मिला है. और मैं चाहूँगा कि राजस्थान एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की क्षेत्र में, एग्रीप्रेन्योरशिप के क्षेत्र में और फिनटेक के क्षेत्र में देश में ही नहीं पूरी दुनिया में नंबर 1 बन जाए. ऐसा यहाँ पे है क्योंकि राजस्थान के लोग जहाँ जहाँ माइग्रेट करके गए वहाँ पे उन्होंने तरक्की करी है. थैंक यू.
Thank you very much. And before I move to my next question, which is going to be to Sanjay, I would request the entire audience to give a big round of applause to Mr. B.D. Kalla, who's with us. हम सालों से सर आपसे सीखते हुए आ रहे हैं. Thank you very much for joining us here. Thank you. Sanjay, my next question is to you, and this is primarily for emerging markets. We're expecting the entire country, all the states and union territories, to be progressively being a part of this fintech revolution. And we are seeing that things are going to be changing in the coming time. You also said that this is going to be extremely technology driven. What is your thought in emerging markets? How is fintech going to be impacting the most? Like for agriculture, we just heard there's a larger thought on how fintech is going to be playing an important role there. What is your thought? Kala sir is here. Would you like to talk about how education is going to be impacted by fintech? If in case you want to talk about any other sectors as well, how do you feel emerging markets, emerging sectors, state governments are all going to be impacted by fintech? And how are we going to be building that trust, which is immensely needed for us to be having that fintech revolution that we all are talking about?
No, Manu, I think this is a very valid question, but answer is very simple. You don't have a choice. No sector, no community, no state, no country can deny this, that they can, in next 20, 30 years, they can live without tech. You know, it started, from, I don't know from where, from maybe 100 years back, but WhatsApp now, you have 50 crore people using WhatsApp. Right, the UPI we just started a 5-year back and 6.2 trillion transactions, just unimaginable kind of numbers. And edutech, pure corona mein, the one sector which was just working day in day out was because of the tech availability, correct? The whole hospitality, right? Because pura aap aajkal chahe air tickets ho, railway tickets ho, hotel bookings ho, you don't even want to have any broker there. You just go online and do the everything, right? As Rishabh just told you about that, a small farmer coming up want to sell his thing direct to the consumer, it's just brilliant, right? So I think in next 10, 12 years, when the country, as you know about the literacy around the technology is around 50%, right? Which I'm saying you that, more or less in India, there would be 24 crore family. तो सबको टेक ओरिएंटेड नहीं बनना है. फैमिली में एक आदमी यदि टेक को यूज करेगा तो वो फैमिली टेक ओरिएंटेड हो जाएगी. सो वी जस्ट नीड मे बी 25 करोड़ लोग, and which will represent that family circle, and that whole family will become tech, right? So why I want to do banking when the banking is at home? Why I want to go to school when my school is at home? Why I want to book anything which I want to do a broker, right? Because there is no value addition there. So, and the doctor's consultation in corona time, the lawyer consultations in Corona time, the whole digitization, whether it's now, मैंने सुना है कि पूरा जो cases हैं, in many states, the whole cases are now online. आपने देखा High Court, the Supreme Courts are online, right? So I think which sector is not even touching there, in my opinion, Manu, to be very honest, the sector, the community, which we won't adopt technology, won't survive long. So you need to be there. You need to be there. And for me, banking has started this. Being a banker, I'm very proud that we as a community actually leading that with front, because we have all those things which makes people very excited. And why we are saying as a bank? Because the consumer keeps money with us, which is so dear to him. And if he can allow that money to be used in a very secure manner, at his convenience, at his own will, then the acceptability of any other technology is easy. Because if you are using bank technology, then you are very sure about the technologies, challenges, or the faidas and all those things, right? So you will implement or use the other things also. So I think we as a country or we as a state, and I'm so happy that Rajasthan, I'm born from Rajasthan, from Jaipur, this city, the kind of initiative this department has taken, and I've gone to that whole techno hub and all those things, and we have actually set up our data center there, is just brilliant, right? The kind of investment we are coming in that digital center at Jodhpur is a foot forward there. So मुझे लगता है कि आप जब ये कॉन्फ्रेंस भी करेंगे, बिकॉज ये फिजिकल कॉन्फ्रेंस भी बहुत दिनों बाद हुई है, वो सब ऑनलाइन चल रही थी, तो एवरीथिंग now is being built around technology. Technology is a bigger convenient, is a bigger equalizer, is bigger in kind of thing where everybody can watch or see how he or she can transact or can view or can even use it, right? So that's my take, that it is inevitable for this human pace that we should avoid technology. जो भी ये बात करेगा वो साइड में हो जाएगा. You have to be on mail line if you really want to use the technology.
Sure, thank you. It makes a lot of sense. We've heard these great insights from Sanjay, Nakul, Rishabh, and Akhil. But I think I'm really looking forward to the final question that I have for this entire session, and that's to you, sir. Arvind, Mayaram, sir, what is your vision for fintech industry in the coming future? And when I say fintech industry, I do not want to refer to only startups. I'm talking about these gentlemen who are there on this panel with us. What are their organizations supposed to be working on? What is your vision on what the government should be focusing on? What do you feel is going to be the overall future of fintech as a sector, and what's your vision on it?
Thank you. Actually, fintech is nothing but finance through technology. So I think we need to be very clear that the flow of finance will continue to be critical for any growth or development in any country. I mean, not just in India. So the question is, if the flow of finance becomes easier, then obviously it is going to be an impetus for the growth, economic growth in that country. Now the question here is that whereas it is becoming much more easy to access finance, but the risk is also increasing. The risk not only to individual, but also risk to the financial stability. In fact, if you look at the financial stability boards that have been created all over the world, there is even a G20 has created a financial stability board. And one of the questions they already have, they are grappling with, is the question of security. And I'm talking in terms of the security of the financial system, because whereas on the one hand, as Sanjay was saying, in terms of the interface with the customer is going to get reduced considerably because there are no big branches and things like that. But then it also increases the possibility of frauds. And that is already beginning to happen. I have received several telephone calls where they have claimed to be even emails which have for instance, bank's name as the sender, and it looks very authentic. And then they have been asking you all kind of information so that they can game you. But at the same time, also looking at the security part of it. Now, one of the issues which, when I speak of consumer, is this. If I have a problem with a bank today, and a bank service, or any other service, even if it is Amazon or anybody else, there is a customer care service. This customer care service is not bank. So you never reach the banker. You never reach the person who will look at your problem. The customer care person is a call center sitting somewhere, and they will have a list of things that they can tell you to do and not to do. But if it's a special problem and you say you have to reach somebody in the bank to speak to them, there is no possible way of doing it. And this is becoming increasingly more frustrating because and this is going to happen more and more when people start using fintech. They borrow money, they have been given a notice for repayment, they want to have some interface with somebody. It's becoming more and more difficult to be able to do that as we move more and more away from the interface between the customer and the provider. So these are questions that I think we should begin to answer now before they become so large that then you require a whole new set of technologies to begin to answer that, and we have to unlearn a lot of things and then relearn them all over again. So this is just a word of caution that whereas this is a movement in one direction, so I'm not saying there is any way of going back or they should go back. It has done huge amount of good, but I think it's time for us to start looking at consumer orientation, because technology cannot be an end in itself. Technology is only a means, but there are on two sides of that means is one who is providing finance and the one who is taking or seeking finance. And the relationship between them should not become completely robotized, if I may use that term, because the technology overtakes the human element in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I am definitely taking the two key takeaways for me being the unlearning and relearning part of it. And secondly, as you very rightly said, to reach out to the bank, I think that's a point which, when we think about it, is really crucial. With that, we are going to be coming to the conclusion of this session. And just to share some more information about what is going on in Rajasthan. The Rajasthan government has an aim to attract 3,000 crore rupees in investment, as well as IT and financial firms in its capital city, Jaipur. And we plan to launch the Fintech Park that is going to be offering large workspaces to businesses in the financial sector. The Rajasthan government plans to carry out the operations for the Fintech Park, which will cover over 4.08 lakh square kilometer area. And this is for your reference. This I definitely believe needs a huge round of applause. So as we conclude this session, I would just like to say that Rajasthan is definitely paving the way to become the fintech capital of India. The government is intensively involved in developing this ecosystem of financial technologies, which would not only nurture the future technologies, but also stimulate the technological aspirations of the financial community and the overall entrepreneur community in Rajasthan, which is, by the way, one of the biggest in the country. On that note, I would like to thank Mr. Akhil Gupta, Mr. Rishabh Kumar Sawansukha, Mr. Nakul Jain, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, and most especially Mr. Arvind Mayaram for taking time out for this session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. मैं आपसे 5 मिनट और चाहूँगी, आप लोग प्लीज़ अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें. और जैसा कि अभी मनु सर ने अनाउंस किया था, आप सब जानते हैं, हम सब जानते हैं, हमारे बीच में शिक्षा एवं कला विभाग मंत्री माननीय श्री बी डी कल्ला जी सर पधार चुके हैं. एक बार जोरदार तालियों से उनका स्वागत. और मैं सर से निवेदन करूंगी कि वे हमारे बीच मंच पे पधारें. साथ ही मैं IT&C कमिश्नर आशीष गुप्ता जी से निवेदन करूंगी कि वो आए और सर का स्वागत करें पुष्प गुच्छ भेंटकर। और ऑडियंस, एक बार आपकी तरफ से पुरजोर तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट हमें मिलनी चाहिए, लगना चाहिए कि आप और हम सब मिलकर के राजस्थान डीजी फेस्ट 2022 में बहुत सारी चीजें लर्न कर रहे हैं और हम सब मिलकर के यहाँ पर बहुत सारी चीजों का फायदा ले रहे हैं, क्योंकि ये हमारे करियर की एक बहुत ही अच्छी शुरुआत अपॉर्चुनिटी हमें देता है। स्वागत, अभिनंदन आप सभी के बीच में माननीय श्री बीडी कल्ला जी सर का, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। और अब मैं माननीय मंत्री महोदय से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि वे राजस्थान डीजी फेस्ट के इस फर्स्ट सेशन में हम सभी से कुछ कहें, आप सभी की तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट के साथ।
श्री अरविंद मायाराम जी, मंचस्थ सभी महानुभाव, या मैं ये कह दूँ सम्मानित मंच और सम्मानित प्रांगण, भाइयों बहनों और पत्रकार बंधुओं, राजस्थान डीजी फेस्ट और अभी आप फिनटेक चेंजिंग द वे इंडिया ट्रांजैक्ट्स के बारे में विषय विशेषज्ञों से सुन रहे थे। आज का जमाना युवकों का जमाना है और भारत पूरे विश्व में युवकों का देश है, जहाँ युवकों की संख्या संसार में सर्वाधिक है। इसलिए भारत के युवक जिस दिन वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन का हिस्सा बन जाएंगे, उस दिन भारत नंबर 1 होगा। उसका कारण ये है कि हमारे यहाँ बहुत से लोग, मैं देखता हूँ, डॉक्टर बन जाते हैं। एक घर में मैं गया, पता लगा कि हस्बैंड डॉक्टर है, वाइफ भी डॉक्टर है, लेकिन वाइफ जो है घरेलू महिला है। तो ये हमारे संसाधनों का नुकसान है। जिस संसाधन से एक अच्छा डॉक्टर बना वो घर का काम कर रहा है। ये जो आप देखेंगे भारत में इस प्रकार की जो तस्वीर है, एक इंजीनियर है और वो इंजीनियर जो है वो किताबों की दुकान में बैठा हुआ है, किताब बेच रहा है। ऐसी अनेक स्थितियां मैंने देखी हैं। उसके अंतर्गत वो इंजीनियर यदि किसी पुल को बनाता, सड़क को बनाता, कहीं पर कोई कंप्यूटर साइंस का काम करता, तो वो अपनी विद्या का सही उपयोग ले सकता था। लेकिन बहुत सारे संसाधन लगाकर हम इंजीनियर, डॉक्टर, अच्छे अच्छे प्रोफेशनल्स बनाते हैं और वो घर के कामों को या घर की दुकान को चलाते हैं, तो वो प्लानिंग उचित नहीं है। तो युवकों को अपने प्रोफेशन के हिसाब से अपने काम में दक्ष रहकर उसी काम को करना है जिसके लिए उनको ट्रेन किया गया है, जिसके लिए उन्होंने अपनी शिक्षा प्राप्त की है। सबसे पहले तो युवकों को शिक्षित होना बहुत ज़रूरी है और शिक्षित होकर हमारी एजुकेशन की प्रणाली अब उस ओर बढ़ रही है कि 10+2 सिस्टम, 10+2 प्रणाली में आप पढ़कर यदि वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन का हिस्सा बनना चाहते हैं तो आप कोई भी अच्छे मैकेनिक, अच्छे टर्नर, अच्छे फिटर, अच्छे इलेक्ट्रीशियन, अच्छे मैकेनिक बन सकते हैं। अथवा हायर एजुकेशन में जाते हैं तो हायर एजुकेशन में आप डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, सीए, एमबीए अथवा जो भी आपने कोर्स किया है उस कोर्स के अनुरूप उस काम को आपको करना चाहिए, तभी जाकर के हम वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन में अपना सही योगदान दे पाएंगे। इसी प्रकार मैंने देखा है कि बहुत से यूथ जो हैं वो ज़्यादा समय यूनिवर्सिटियों में गुजार देते हैं और उनको कहते हैं यूनिवर्सिटी के भूमिए हैं। कभी एमए हिस्ट्री में कर लिया, कभी एमए सोशियोलॉजी में कर लिया, कभी एमए हिस्ट्री में कर लिया, फिर एलएलबी कर ली, फिर एलएलएम कर लिया। तो वो जो कॉलेज और यूनिवर्सिटियों के भूमिए होते हैं वो फिर ना इधर के रहते हैं ना उधर के रहते हैं, उनको पता भी नहीं है कि उनको क्या बनना है। तो शुरू से ही यूथ को अपना लक्ष्य निर्धारित करना चाहिए। महाभारत में द्रोणाचार्य जी ने जब पांडवों को, कौरवों को, अपने शिष्यों को बिठाया और बिठा करके कहा कि एक पेड़ पर मैंने चिड़िया को रख रखा है, उसकी आंख को भेदना है। एक शिष्य ने कहा मुझे पेड़ दिखाई दे रहा है, किसी ने कहा मुझे तना दिखाई दे रहा है, किसी ने कहा पत्ते दिखाई दे रहे हैं। अर्जुन की बारी आई तो अर्जुन ने सीधा ये कहा कि मुझे चिड़िया की आंख दिखाई दे रही है, आप आदेश दो, मैं इसे अभी भेज देता हूं। तो लक्ष्य सामने होना चाहिए यूथ के सामने कि मुझे क्या करना है, मुझे क्या बनना है। मैं हर बार कभी किसी स्कूल में जाता हूं तो विद्यार्थियों से एक ही बात पूछता हूं कि आप क्या बनना चाहते हो। प्राय विद्यार्थी ज़्यादातर तो ये कहते हैं मैं अध्यापक बनना चाहता हूं, कोई कहता है मैं कलेक्टर बनूंगा, कोई कहता है एसपी बनूंगा, कोई कहता है कि मैं बड़ा होकर फौज में जाऊंगा, मेजर बनूंगा। कई स्पोर्ट्स से जो संबंधित होते हैं, स्पोर्ट्स लवर, वो ये कहते हैं कि मैं बड़ा होकर विराट कोहली बनूंगा, अजरुद्दीन बनूंगा। लेकिन हर व्यक्ति जीवन में कुछ न कुछ बनना चाहता है और बनने का माध्यम केवल मात्र तालीम ही है। बिना शिक्षा के आदमी कुछ भी नहीं बन सकता। इसलिए आज के यूथ को 10वीं के बाद जब ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट लेना पड़ता है तो उस समय उसका एप्टीट्यूड टेस्ट लेना चाहिए, आईक्यू टेस्ट करना चाहिए कि इसकी रुचि किस में है। क्योंकि हर व्यक्ति जीवन में बचपन से ही नैसर्गिक गुणों को लेकर पैदा होता है। कोई आंसू कवि होता है, कोई आंसू वैज्ञानिक होता है, कोई आंसू आपके कॉमर्स का ज्ञाता होता है, कोई आंसू लेखक होता है। लेकिन कुछ न कुछ उसमें नैसर्गिक प्रतिभाएं हैं, लेकिन उन प्रतिभाओं को तराशने की जरूरत है। और वो तराशने का काम हमारे अध्यापक, प्राध्यापक और शिक्षाविद करते हैं। वो जिस तरीके से कुम्हार मिट्टी से घड़ा बना देता है, ढक्कन बना देता है, कुल्हड़ बना देता है, वैसे ही एक रॉ मटेरियल के रूप में कच्चे दिमाग के साथ हमारे विद्यार्थी आते हैं, उनको परिपक्व बनाने का काम करते हैं हमारे टीचर्स। वो उनको डॉक्टर बना देते हैं, इंजीनियर बना देते हैं, सीए बना देते हैं, एमबीए बना देते हैं और अलग अलग प्रोफेशन में उनको अच्छे खेल प्रशिक्षक होते हैं, उनको ओलंपियन बना देते हैं, एशिया के अच्छे खिलाड़ी बना देते हैं। लेकिन इसके लिए जरूरी क्या है? सबसे पहले तो मैं यूथ को ये कहना चाहूँगा कि संस्कृत में एक श्लोक है, काक चेष्टा बकत ध्यानम स्वान निद्रा तथैव च अल्पाहारी ग्रह त्यागी विद्यार्थी अयु पंच लक्षणम। कौवे की तरह चेष्टाशील होकर जहाँ भी ज्ञान मिल रहा हो उसको कैच करना चाहिए, पकड़ना चाहिए। बगुले की तरह ध्यान केंद्रित होकर पढ़ना चाहिए और स्वान निद्रा, जाग निद्रा होनी चाहिए। अल्पाहारी होना चाहिए, बैलेंस डाइट। मैं कई बार हमारे अभिभावकों से भी ये कहता हूँ कि आप बच्चे का लाड प्यार करते हैं, एक दिन कचौड़ी, एक दिन पकौड़ी, एक दिन समोसा, एक दिन चाउमीन, एक दिन बर्गर, एक दिन पिज़्ज़ा और एक दिन मसाला डोसा, बच्चे का लीवर खराब। इसलिए नौजवानों को संतुलित आहार लेना जरूरी है। पनीर खाओ, दूध पियो और जो नॉन वेज है वो नॉन वेज का प्रोटीन खाएं। जो भी आपको अच्छा प्रोटीन मिले, संतुलित आहार लें, पेटू नहीं बने। पेटू बनोगे तो नींद आएगी और घर गृहस्थी की बातों से अलग रहकर पढ़ने वाला व्यक्ति आगे बढ़ सकता है। आज के यूथ क्या करते हैं? खेलते कम हैं। हम अपनी उम्र में खेलते ज़्यादा थे, पढ़ते कम थे। लेकिन जब 10वीं का मैंने इम्तिहान दिया था तो मेरे 98% मार्क्स मैथमेटिक्स में आए। उसका कारण क्या था कि हमारा दिमाग बहुत अच्छा था। स्वस्थ शरीर में स्वस्थ मस्तिष्क का विकास होता है, इसलिए स्वस्थ रहो। मालवीय जी कहते थे, दूध पियो, कसरत करो और नित्य करो गृह काम, हिम्मत से मेहनत करो, सफल करेंगे श्री राम। नियमित रूप से जैसे पढ़ना जरूरी है वैसे ही मेहनत करना जरूरी है, व्यायाम करना जरूरी है, योग करना जरूरी है। योग परिश्रम करेंगे, दिमाग और शरीर स्वस्थ रहेगा, इसलिए स्वस्थ रहना जरूरी है। और कहा भी गया है, पहला सुख निरोगी काया। हमारे माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी तो हमेशा, अशोक जी गहलोत ये कहते हैं, पहला सुख निरोगी काया। और इसीलिए उन्होंने मुख्यमंत्री चिरंजीवी योजना जिसमें 10 लाख तक का कैशलेस इलाज सब परिवारों के लिए फ्री कर दिया है। और इस तरीके से राजस्थान को निरोग रखना हमारा लक्ष्य है। यूथ निरोग रहेगा तो निश्चित रूप से कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन में, देश के उत्पादन को बढ़ाने में, प्रति व्यक्ति आय बढ़ाने में, नेशनल इनकम बढ़ाने में, प्रति व्यक्ति उत्पादन बढ़ाने में सहायक होगा। इसलिए स्वस्थ रहना हर एक के लिए जरूरी है। स्वस्थ रहेंगे तो निश्चित रूप से हमारा उत्पादन, हमारी नेशनल इनकम अच्छी रहेगी। इसी प्रकार यूथ को अपने समय का प्रबंधन करना बहुत जरूरी है। समय का प्रबंधन नहीं करेंगे, आप घर में भी टीवी देख रहे हैं, ऑफिस में भी टीवी देख रहे हैं, मान लो क्रिकेट की टूर्नामेंट चल रही है तो क्रिकेट को आप ऑफिस में बैठे हुए देख रहे हैं तो आपका ऑफिस का काम प्रभावित होगा। ऑफिस में ऑफिस का काम, और घर में जाओ तो उसमें भी आपको कितने समय खेलना है, कितना समय अपने परिवार को देना है, और परिवार नहीं है तो कितना समय आपको पढ़ने के लिए देना है। समय का प्रबंधन हर तरीके से जरूरी है, खेलने में, पढ़ने में, आराम करने में। ये आज के यूथ क्या करते हैं, रात को जगने के लिए गोलियां लेते हैं। आप किसी डॉक्टर से पूछ लेना, बायोलॉजिकल साइकिल को जो स्टूडेंट या विद्यार्थी या यूथ डिस्टर्ब कर देते हैं वो बीमार हो जाते हैं। रात सोने के लिए बनाई है, दिन जगने के लिए बनाया है। दिन में सोते हैं, रात को पढ़ते हैं, उन यूथ की जो शारीरिक स्थिति है वो कमजोर हो जाती है। इसलिए रात को सोएं, दिन में पढ़ें, जल्दी सोएं, जल्दी उठें। मैंने तो बचपन में देखा था, अर्ली टू बेड एंड अर्ली टू राइज मेक्स ए मैन हेल्दी, वेल्दी एंड वाइज। तो हमको स्वस्थ रहने के लिए जल्दी सोना है, जल्दी उठना है, और नियमित रूप से अपने स्वाध्याय को करना है। पढ़ाई बहुत जरूरी है, और पढ़ाई के बाद आपको किसी न किसी कामों में लगना जरूरी है। देखिए हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने, कोई भी नौजवान जो ग्रेजुएट हुआ है अथवा पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट हुआ है, कोई उद्योग लगाना चाहता है, 3 साल तक बिना लाइसेंस के उद्योग चला सकता है, उनको लाइसेंस लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। उसके बाद कोई भी व्यक्ति सोलर एनर्जी का कोई प्लांट लगाना चाहता है तो 5 साल तक उसके ऊपर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ड्यूटी फ्री। कोई व्यक्ति रिजॉर्ट खोलना चाहे तो कन्वर्जन चार्जेस निल, स्टैम्प ड्यूटी निल। ऐसे अनेक फैसले हम लोगों ने लिए हैं। एक किसान जिसके पास मान लो कोई यूथ है, घर की जमीन है, और वो कोल्ड स्टोर बनाना चाहे अथवा वो वेयर हाउसिंग कॉरपोरेशन का गोदाम बनाना चाहे तो 1 करोड़ की लागत पर 50 लाख रुपए की सब्सिडी, और जिसके पास जमीन नहीं है और वो बनाना चाहते हो तो 30 लाख रुपए 1 करोड़ के ऊपर सब्सिडी दी गई है। ऐसी अनेक योजनाएं हैं। उन योजनाओं को आप चला सकते हैं, उनके माध्यम से वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन का हिस्सा बन सकते हैं। मैं नौजवानों से ये कहना चाहता हूं कि वे अपने तन का, मन का और धन का सांगोपांग सदुपयोग करें, और सदुपयोग करते हुए कुछ न कुछ देश की प्रगति में अपना योगदान दें। आज नौजवानों के सामने सोशल मीडिया कई तरह की बातें परोस रहा है। उन बातों में नहीं आए, उनके पीछे सत्यता नहीं है। हमारा देश आज़ादी का अभी 75वां वर्ष मना चुका है, 76वें वर्ष में हम प्रवेश कर गए हैं। हमारे देश की आज़ादी को तोड़ने के लिए कोई भाषा के नाम पर, कोई जाति के नाम पर, कोई धर्म के नाम पर और कोई प्रांतीयता के नाम पर हमको कमजोर करना चाहते हैं। ऐसी स्थिति में नौजवानों को चाहिए कि वो शिक्षित हैं, वो दीक्षित हैं और वो संस्कारित हैं। तो वो इस बात का संकल्प लें कि इल्तिजाए है वतन की जान इशारों से उठो, ख्वाबगाहों की दिगा परवर बहारों से उठो, एक दो से ही नहीं कहता हूं सारों से उठो, मंदिरों से, मस्जिदों से, गुरुद्वारों से उठो। मंदिर, मस्जिद, गुरुद्वारे हमारी आस्था के प्रतीक हैं। हम इनको सजदा करते हैं, ये सभी हमारी आस्था के प्रतीक हैं, हम सब इनको कोटि कोटि नमन करते हैं। लेकिन भारत माता और हमारा राष्ट्र सर्वोपरि है, इसके ऊपर हम आंच नहीं आने देंगे। अनेकता में एकता का दिग्दर्शन जो हमारे रहनुमाओं ने आज़ादी के आंदोलन के वक्त किया था, उसी स्पिरिट को बनाए रखते हुए हम देश की आज़ादी को कायम रखने के लिए, लोकतंत्र को कायम रखने के लिए एक रहेंगे, नेक रहेंगे और जाति, भाषा, मजहब और धर्म के ऊपर उठकर देश की एकता का सोच रखेंगे, तब जाकर के हमारा यूथ जो है देश को कुछ दे सकता है। और मैं यूथ से ये भी कहना चाहता हूँ, कई लोग बहुत नेगेटिव सोचते हैं, देश ने हमारे लिए क्या किया। जॉन एफ कैनेडी ने एक बार कहा था, आस्क नॉट व्हाट योर कंट्री कैन डू फॉर यू, आस्क व्हाट यू कैन डू फॉर योर कंट्री, एंड आस्क व्हाट टुगेदर वी कैन डू फॉर द फ्रीडम ऑफ मैन। आप ये मत पूछिए कि देश आपके लिए क्या कर सकता है, हम देश के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं, और हम सब मिलकर मानव स्वतंत्रता के लिए, मानव कल्याण के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं, ये सोच हमको रखना चाहिए। और विवेकानंद जी ने तो बहुत स्पष्ट कहा है, अवेक अराइज एंड स्टॉप नॉट टिल द गोल इज रीच। उठो, जागो और तब तक मत रुको जब तक लक्ष्य की प्राप्ति नहीं हो। लक्ष्य क्या है हमारा? हमको अच्छा यूथ बनकर देश की सेवा करनी है और परोपकार में पढ़ना है। वेद व्यास जी ने 18 पुराण लिखे, हजारों पृष्ठ लिख दिए। उनसे एक वैश्य नौजवान ने पूछा कि व्यास जी महाराज हजारों पृष्ठ लिख दिए, पढ़ेगा कौन कंप्यूटर एज में? तो उन्होंने कहा उनके लिए 2 लाइनें लिख के जा रहा हूं। संक्षिप्तीकरण की शैली दुनिया में सबसे अच्छी है तो संस्कृत भाषा में है। देखिए 18 पुराण में हजारों पृष्ठ हैं, उनका सार 2 लाइनों में दिया। अष्टादश पुराणेषु व्यासस्य वचनम द्वयम परोपकार पुण्याय पापाय परपीडनम। मेरे 18 पुराणों का सार ये है कि परोपकार से बड़ा कोई धर्म नहीं है और दूसरे को पीड़ा पहुंचाने से बड़ा कोई पाप नहीं है, अधर्म नहीं है। तो हमारे युवकों को परोपकार के कार्यों को करना है, एक दूसरे की मदद करनी है, आगे बढ़ना है और टीम स्पिरिट से इस देश को आगे बढ़ाना है, ताकि हम अमेरिका, जापान, जर्मनी, चाइना, रूस, इन सब से आगे बढ़कर अपना अव्वल नंबर प्राप्त करें और दूसरे देशों की, कमजोर देशों की सेवा करें। ऐसी स्पिरिट रख के हमारे युवकों को सोचना चाहिए, काम करना चाहिए। इन्हीं लफ्जों के साथ मैं अपनी बात को समाप्त करता हूं और आप सबके लिए कामना करता हूं, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मां कश्चित् दुःख भाग् भवेत्। आप सबका मंगल हो, आप सब सुखी रहें और उत्तरोत्तर प्रगति के पथ पर पथारूढ़ होते हुए देश के लिए काम करते रहें। जय हिंद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। हम सब एक हैं और हमारा देश है भारत, और भारत में एक खूबसूरत सा प्रदेश जिसका नाम है राजस्थान, और राजस्थान बढ़ रहा है प्रगति की ओर, क्योंकि राजस्थान सरकार दे रही है प्रतिदिन तरक्की की एक नई भोर। सर के लिए एक बार जोरदार तालियां आप सबकी तरफ से चाहेंगे। बहुत ही सुंदर शब्दों में आपने हमें बताया कि किस तरह से राजस्थान सरकार न सिर्फ युवाओं के लिए बल्कि राजस्थान के प्रत्येक व्यक्ति के लिए, उनके हितों के लिए सोच रही है। चलिएगा आगे बढ़ते हैं और अब मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगी आशीष गुप्ता जी सर को। IT&C के चेयरमैन सर मंच पे पधारें और हमारे बीच मंच पर उपस्थित माननीय मंत्री महोदय श्री BD कल्ला जी सर को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट कर उनका धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करें और हम सब अपनी पुरजोर तालियों से उनका धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करेंगे। स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करने के लिए आमंत्रित कर रही हूं आशीष गुप्ता जी सर को। तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट मिलती रहे। मैं पुनः एक बार आशीष जी सर से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि मंच पर उपस्थित श्री अरविंद मायाराम जी सर को आप स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आशीष सर। मैं श्री नीलेश शर्मा जी से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि वे मंच पे पधारें और हमारे बीच मंच पर उपस्थित श्री संजय अग्रवाल जी सर को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। नीलेश शर्मा जी। इसी कड़ी को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं श्री वरदराजन जी से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि वे हमारे बीच मंच पे पधारें और मंच पर उपस्थित श्री नकुल जैन जी सर को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। धन्यवाद नीलेश सर। मंच पर आमंत्रित कर रही हूं वरदराजन सर को कि वे मंच पर उपस्थित श्री नकुल जैन जी सर को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। साथ ही मैं निवेदन करना चाहूंगी श्री अकुल भार्गव जी से। श्री अकुल भार्गव जी। श्री अखिलेश मित्तल जी से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि वे मंच पर पधारें और मंच पर उपस्थित हमारे बीच श्री अखिल गुप्ता जी सर को स्मृति चिन्ह देकर उनका धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करें। आप सभी की तालियां लगातार हमें मिलती रहनी चाहिए। मैं निवेदन करना चाहूंगी जितेंद्र वर्मा जी से कि वे मंच पे पधारें और मंच पर उपस्थित श्री ऋषभ कुमार सावंतसुखा जी सर को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। इसी कड़ी में मैं श्री सुनील छाबरा जी से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि वे मंच पे पधारें। मैं अनुज गौड जी से निवेदन करना चाहूंगी कि हमारे इस सेशन को बहुत ही खूबसूरती से, बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से जिन्होंने मॉडरेट किया वो हैं श्री मनु शुक्ला जी। आप उन्हें स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट करें। एक बार मनु सर के लिए जोरदार तालियां आप सबकी तरफ से होनी चाहिए। साथ ही हमारे सभी पैनलिस्ट के लिए भी तालियां होनी चाहिए जिन्होंने इतनी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन हमारे साथ शेयर की और हम सभी को नई अपॉर्चुनिटीज के बारे में बताया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। धन्यवाद आप सभी का कि आप सब हमारे बीच पधारे और आपने बहुत ही खूबसूरती से इस पैनल डिस्कशन को हमारे साथ यहाँ पर शेयर किया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मंत्री महोदय, साथ ही श्री मनु शुक्ला जी सर, श्री अरविंद मायाराम जी सर, श्री संजय अग्रवाल जी सर, श्री नकुल जैन जी, श्री अखिल गुप्ता जी, श्री ऋषभ कुमार सावंतसुखा जी, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और हमारी बैठी हुई सभी ऑडियंस, आप सब हमारे क्विज कंपटीशन में पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं और आप सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप इस पूरे हमारे इस फेस्ट को विजिट करें,